NFTs, my, be still my beating heart. I have yet seen such a beautiful way to launder funds in my day. Hello Internet and welcome to the wonderful world of NFTs, a topic on the internet I'm sure you've seen tons of commentary channels giving their opinion on. And not to insult my contemporaries here, but I have a feeling a lot of people have been smoking a little too much Twitter. Listen, I don't like being a contrarian, but I think today I might actually fall into the category of that, depending on how easily offended you are. But before I give my piece to camera, I do need to explain what an NFT is, explain the concepts behind this, so that way my argument makes sense. Oh, and this isn't financial advice, obviously, even though later I'll probably give my opinion on the market and how it's operating right now. And, full disclosure for everything going into this, because I don't think a lot of my contemporaries are actually going to say the same thing, because I guarantee you a lot of YouTubers actually do hold quite a bit of crypto. But yeah, I do own some Ether and some Bitcoin, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I don't own an NFT, and I really have no plans to make a purchase like that in my immediate or anywhere near future because it's expensive. An NFT is something you buy with cryptocurrency, in particular with crypto backing its authenticity. Stuff like this can get really confusing, so as I explain it, I'm going to use real world terms and I'm gonna kind of try and break down some of the definitions of these crypto marketplace and stock stuff, so that way it's easier to understand. But we're just gonna avoid all the cyberpunk metaverse mumbo jumbo lingo that goes on here, and just know that NFT stands for non-fungible token. So think about it like this: you go and buy a piece of art from an artist you enjoy. Maybe it's a limited run of an artwork or a print, so it's like number 25 of 100. That piece of artwork is going to come with a thing that's a letter of authenticity. That letter of authenticity is signed by the artist. It says it's like number 25 out of 100, and it denotes that it is a real original work from this artist, and you have the ownership of it. That is what a letter of authenticity is, so you understand what that is, right? Everybody does. NFTs work the same way in theory. Basically, it's using crypto as the paper that denotes authenticity, ownership, and originality of a piece. So NFTs are basically JPEGs that have a letter of authenticity associated with them that denotes their authenticity as a real piece of object or work. And I understand that it's not a physical object, and we'll get into that later, but we're gonna keep it simple stupid, right? For the crypto bros in the audience who like to get really deep into this stuff, because if you want people to actually listen to you, you can't throw out big DDs on Wall Street bets and expect people to care about your massive gains, because honestly, you sound like a weirdo. So like this NFT stuff can also include transactions and some other stuff, but right now, yeah, just think as you would for a letter of authenticity. CryptoKitties was the first NFT project I heard of, and it seems to predate a lot of the hype around NFTs that is around now. CryptoKitties is kind of like Neopets, but using Ethereum as a cryptocurrency, which makes each one unique. Okay, so here's the first like weird cyberpunk metaverse word, right? What's Ethereum? Right? So I'm going into this assuming you know absolutely zero, right? But Ethereum is kind of like Bitcoin, but a little different, right? Really, you go online, nobody's gonna give you a good example of what makes these two different. So Bitcoin is a currency first. Since Bitcoin came out, there's a lot of other coins on the market now that do specific things and have a specific purpose. If you actually read what the coins do and don't just, invest or purchase coins based on the logo or funny name, you actually learn where your money goes and what these things do. Ether is extremely popular, that's short for Ethereum. Ether is using technology for a decentralized payment network. This is different from a centralized payment network, right? Centralized payment networks are kind of like banks or PayPal. Generally speaking, for internet freedom and personal safety and security, you don't want these companies to control everything, considering that they can make the call on whether or not you can make money or use their bank. Usually transactions also clear faster with crypto over centralized banking, at least from my experience and the times that I've purchased with crypto. I know for me it can take for like up to a week to clear with my bank, but crypto can take like 11 minutes or something, much quicker. What makes Ether unique is that it also stores computer code that can be used to power tamper-proof decentralized stuff, right? So stuff like NFTs is an example of that, but also games and identity. Some coins built on the back of Ether can be used to prevent voter fraud, offset carbon emissions, etc. You can go look. Most of them say that they're built on the technology of Ethereum, but those are some examples of coins that do that thing and what they're used for. And don't get me wrong, there are coins that are used specifically for committing crimes. That exists out there as well. Either that or they're built in a way to facilitate the easier transaction of extra legal purchases. Now we get into how these coins are minted, so how new coins are made, right? So right now, Ether uses a concept called proof of work, which is what uses so much energy. This is basically where farms of computers solve math problems to produce a coin. Most of the places where this happens is basically wherever these computer farms are is where people are talking about the problem with emissions. These are huge operations and farms of computers, and generally speaking, you can't really do this stuff in your home anymore, all right? You're gonna be mining pretty much forever. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here, but basically, proof of work is very expensive because of the energy expenditure, and it's also less scalable because you'll constantly keep having to use more and more powerful computers. This stuff is also contributing to the computer shortage and like the computer parts shortage that we're having now. So if you can't buy a gaming rig and you are missing out on ray tracing, this is why. So what is the solution to this? Well, that solution would be a thing called proof of stake. This is a less energy intensive process in minting new coins. There are some coins like Cardano, Tezos, etc. that use this method of producing new coins. There's also like a constant mention of marketing the coins as being green this way. And don't get me wrong, proof of stake does use less energy. It's better for the environment, but really the people behind this are promoting it that way. But you know, in general, it's just because it's bringing costs down. So let me explain how proof of stake works because it's a little bit more confusing than proof of work, right? It's not just like computers do a hard problem, coin gets put out, right? So let me break it down, and I'm gonna really simplify it. And I understand that like people who are really into the space fucking hate it when people do this, but I'm trying my best here to make it for people to be engaged. So you know what? Nobody's gonna be happy today. Okay, so when I say blockchain, right? When I say blockchain, guys, what I'm saying is think of like a coin, right? Just think of the coin, right? Because blockchain as like a concept can be really hard to grasp, but just think about it like that. So proof of stake works like this. Blockchains use validators or stakeholders who stake their own coins. So they put their own coins in as validators to this process, right? In exchange for getting a chance to validate a new transaction or mint a new coin and update the blockchain, as a result of those validators putting the coins in, there is a reward that is given back for them staking their coins and minting a new transaction. So people like pool together crypto to stake a large amount and you know, people get kickback from staking that. Some people put their coins in and they get scammed because they don't understand how anything works and they need to read up on it more. But generally speaking, you put the coins in, a new coin comes out, and everybody makes money, everybody goes home happy. The reason I bring up proof of stake is because Ethereum will be moving to Ether 2.0. And Ether 2.0 is going to be running on proof of stake, not proof of work, which is great for a lot of people because the whole environmental impact of crypto is a qualm for many, and this would solve the problem for Ethereum. Though there are other coins that have already solved this problem, but again, people assume that Bitcoin is the only thing that exists, so there's that. So that's what Ether is, and this is what NFTs are built on and sold for. So I think I should clarify right now, most of this NFT craze is basically artificially made by people paying celebrities to shill NFTs. So Bored Ape Project is a really infamous one right now that showed up in a Post Malone video. Basically, most of the NFTs that are getting popular right now are really quickly made, cheaply made assets, basically from Fiverr artists that are being sold for thousands of dollars. And then guess what? The digital artist on the other side isn't making that much money. What a surprise. But most of these projects involve some form of random generation, and this isn't the basis of all NFTs, but this seems to be the one that is the basis for a lot of these scams. Basically, you make a shitload of cheaply made assets and then you sell these on the idea that they are scarce and there won't be another one like them. So you're creating this perceived scarcity because, oh, there'll only be a certain number of people who can truly own this rock. However, any digital artist in the audience right now might be laughing at the idea of a $1 million rock JPEG, considering all you need to do is change the color code on this rock to create a completely new and unique rock that you can also sell for lots of money. And you can basically do this infinitely forever because of how many colors exist in the world. You can basically have a computer do this. You don't even need to make anything. You can just generate new NFTs without putting in any work, and they're only mildly different than the ones before, and then people will still pay for it because they're making so much money already that they can pay for Post Malone to say, wow, this is cool. And ironically, it's much easier to get a celeb to shill an NFT than you think. Drake Bell apparently only cost $1,000. $1,000. I know YouTubers who charge more than that. Now, I understand that you can't technically hold these things in your hand, so how can you truly own them? And I'll get to the concept and talk about ownership in a little bit, and I understand that that is another qualm that many people have, and I'll get to it, and I do want to make my piece on that. But, you know, I do have to talk about how ugly these NFTs are. Now, value associated with art is entirely perceived, and there's no objective standard for art, and I don't want to be that guy, but I would never put a Bored Ape on my wall. This shit looks ugly. At a risk of sounding like the most insufferable human being ever, I'm gonna word it like this in the way an art critic would. The Bored Ape project and projects like it are a pastiche of postmodern pop art that almost seems to deliberately miss the point of what makes these works interesting and emotionally resonant with audiences. It completely defeats the purpose of this genre of art and also misses the messages that great masterworks like those of Andy Warhol have made in the past. Don't worry, guys. I have an art degree. Basically what I'm saying is, these things feel like art I've seen, but they miss the point of what makes that art emotionally connect with people. Now, another thing about NFTs that's particularly popular is money laundering, of which I'll link to a video down below that talks about this topic much better than me, but money laundering has existed long before cryptocurrency came onto the scene. This doesn't necessarily make money laundering easier. It just puts it in the hands of more people because now, you know, not everybody's going to get into like a Christie's art auction, but anybody can auction on OpenSea. Basically what I'm saying is money laundering isn't unique to crypto. So some boomers seem to think that crypto is only for committing crime and only for money laundering, but no, that's not correct at all. I mean, wine is a great way to launder money. People do it with luxury goods, cars, art, you name it. And again, link to a video about this down below. All right, so time for my piece to camera. So about this ownership thing. I mean, if you're an artist, right, and someone steals your art and claims it as your own, you'd be pissed, right? I've seen that argument play out thousands of times over on the internet. For example, I'm a photographer. I don't like my photos being reposted without my permission. It's annoying. I want proper accreditation for the work that I do and the time that I put in. I'm sure you've seen this argument play out on the internet, you know, time and time again. For what it's worth, NFTs mean that while someone can repost that art, right, they can just repost the image, they don't really have ownership of it and they don't have a way to prove that it is theirs, which, you know, back in the day, it just used to be a debate between two people. An artist would say, that's mine, you stole my thing. And another person would say, no, I didn't, no, I didn't. And then it would just be up to the community to come to a consensus whether or not that person did steal something. And I'm not saying that you should go around minting all of your art that you've done, but it does come as a little bit of a band-aid fix on a big wound. I'm not saying it solves the problem of people stealing art, but it is a way that that problem, I feel, would be mitigated by this technology. I mean, it goes without saying, with respect to artists, just don't go and take their work from their page and just like trace it over and shit like that. And all that like recoloring garbage isn't cool either. I'm sure you've seen it from other art YouTubers in the past of why you should and shouldn't do those things. I will say, for the crypto bros who get butthurt over the screenshots of NFTs, you own the NFT. It says that you own it. Why are you annoyed that somebody else is screenshotting it? Like, you have the receipts. It doesn't mean they own it all of a sudden. Like, why do you care what an anime profile picture says? I mean, probably because you have an NFT CryptoPunks profile picture, but what I'm saying is that it's not worth the energy or effort. Now, I think it should be pretty clear that I actually don't hate NFTs. I think a lot of the hate stems from the scams and the crypto bros, but I think the technology is cool and has a point. And I think in the future, we're gonna find that a lot of this technology is really gonna come into its own, especially as we're really on the precipice of just this VR revolution in the internet and technology. I think stuff like NFTs are important because I worry about my internet sovereignty, control of my data. I worry about those things. I want to be in control of my data, my money, all of it. I don't want some company to make decisions for me or make the calls for me. Next, I'm a videographer and a photographer outside of the channel. I'm not a digital artist per se, but I do draw on a tablet from time to time. And this is something that I found really annoying. I find that people don't take digital art seriously as like real art because, and it's crazy, I see the argument now from the people on Twitter that are my age, which is crazy to see. But like, you guys know the meme where it's like somebody clicks a button on their pen tablet and then the art is made, and then that's what people think digital art is. You just press a button and the art happens. I think it should be said that some of the people who are minting NFTs are like actually real artists and not a basketball player tracing over Boss Baby pictures. Some of the people minting NFTs are literally masters in their craft who have been doing this for decades. Like, some of it is genuinely gorgeous art, and I understand that that's down to opinion, but for me, some of it is quite inspiring. And it's annoying because as I've gone looking for like early day inspirations of digital artists, because there's something very ethereal about like CGI and CGI art from the early 90s when all the technology was very new, right? Art critics and art historians just haven't taken any of that seriously. So, you know, as a result, they don't take it seriously like, you know, a sculpture or something that they can physically touch and see. And that mentality needs to stop. And the reason that this mentality is bad is because I go looking for those artists of yesteryear from before the internet was a monster hellscape, right? From that time period, and I can't find any information about him because the people who do the history keeping in this space never took it seriously. As a result, I can't find anything about those artists, and they are the progenitors of their craft, and they'll never get any credit for it. Like, I like Beeple, he's a very talented CG artist, but he's going to be the first one that people remember like 50 years after he dies, and not the people from the 90s who are old or either dying or never got that sense of success, and that's a shame. I honestly think digital art is just as valuable as physical art. You know, we can reference artists from before the Iron Curtain fell, but it would be nice to actually learn about the mediums from the artists who create in those mediums. Like, Jesus Christ, would it be that hard to want to learn about the first people who put their strokes to pen tablets? Obviously, I understand that a lot of people are annoyed with NFTs because at the end of the day, they're JPEGs and you can't really display these things. And I understand why that puts some people off. I definitely agree. I wouldn't want to own an NFT and it just sit on my hard drive doing nothing. I wish it was easier to display this technology and actually have it come into physical space in a way that represents the art in an appropriate manner. This is something that I think will really be solved when we move into a more virtual reality-based internet, which I think is going to happen in our lifetimes. Then only a certain number of people can have these NFTs displayed on the wall of their VR apartment, and somebody else can't, because of the technology behind it keeping people from, you know, mass reproducing it. It would also be nice if they came up with better, more affordable picture displays that actually have, you know, good resolution, good clarity, and good color to display some of this art, because some of these displays now are super expensive and I wouldn't feel justified buying one of these displays to display my art that I purchased. But basically, I don't think whether or not something can be held in my hand should tell me whether or not it's worth something, which is an argument from a lot of people I've seen on at least my side of the internet. For my own work, for the videos and photos that I do, what determines the value of the work is the time that I put in and the effort I put in. You know, it's not art for art's sake, it's commercial work at the end of the day, but there is value with it despite it not being tangible in my hands. I also think it's a hilarious statement that YouTubers who commission digital artists all the time are saying that this art can't have value because it's not real. Which, by the way, digital artists out there, you can probably charge more for your work, and I recommend you do. I didn't realize that I could actually charge people for the work that I do, but I can. So you do it too. Take advantage of yourself. You are a talented individual who worked hard to be good at what you do. But considering we live in such a digital world anyway, saying that this stuff has zero value is fucking stupid. People prescribe value to the artwork, and I do think a lot of NFTs are extremely overvalued. I don't think we should be basing the value of an NFT over whether or not a celebrity is involved with the project or not. But discrediting all of it and saying all of it is garbage and none of it is like actually real art or something is just the stupidest shit ever. You know, the thing is, digital art has come into its own, and honestly, it's, on one hand, you know, how we display this is going to determine what digital art is, right? Because I've seen a lot of digital art that's amazing, but it can't be displayed in the traditional way. Like, we can't print it and then put it in a frame, right? Because it would do a disservice to the medium of which that art was crafted in. You know, so that's why I think, you know, displays and screens are going to be a great way to do that. You know, we want to represent this art correctly so that way people can enjoy it to its fullest and at its largest depth and beauty. Like, there are NFTs that are pictures, but they're also moving at the same time. So I guess they're kind of like GIFs, but I don't think they're working like GIFs. But you know, you just couldn't display a GIF NFT in a way that removes the movement of the object. You understand what I mean? And I'm not telling you to go out and buy an NFT. That's not what this is, right? But it's just really insane that I'm seeing the argument from people my age say that digital art has no value because you can't hold it in your hands. That's such a fucking boomer argument, especially coming from YouTubers. I just find that absolutely incredible. That's coming from people who hire digital artists all the time. And listen, I'll continue to commission and work with digital artists. I like being self-employed. I'm sure digital artists like being self-employed too. The work hours are probably much better than slaving away in EA or name company here that already has bad practices. You know, but I don't think professionals in their craft should be forced to avoid a means of income because some weenie YouTuber said it's cringe. Like, obviously execute judgment with this stuff. I don't think that's a really hard opinion to swallow, right? Execute judgment in this stuff, right? If you say that you are fine owning a piece of art forever, right? And then 30 years down the line when digital art is accepted, you know, all of a sudden your family has stumbled upon a massive wealth, right? From the NFTs you bought, right? That's great. But don't assume that you're going to be the fucking person that flips art on the weekends. You know, you're not that person if you think that you're that person, right? If you're at a table and you don't know who the sucker is, you're the sucker. But there are actually genuine real artists in here. And those are the ones that should be supported, not these crazy people who are paying Fiverr artists $10 to make them $175,000. That's fucking evil. It's a shame because I think this tech is really important and is going to be a part of the future, whether we like it or not. It's just a shame that a lot of it is being used to bamboozle ignorant people who don't understand what they're getting into. You know, that area and that side is a problem and it needs to be called out, and it is shitty. I don't like it. I don't think anybody else likes it. But I think people are conflating that with making arguments like digital art has no value, and that is not cool. But whatever. I don't consider myself a digital artist besides doing like photography and videography. I guess it could be. But digital artists, you know, artists that draw stuff in the audience, please tell me how you feel, right? What do you do? How do you feel about NFTs, right? How do you feel about all these cheap NFTs being the ones that make money? Would you rather just make money through commissions only, but would you be cool if your art could finally be displayed in a museum? What is it you feel, right? Maybe VR chat could be the museum that displays the NFTs. Maybe that is a real thing in the future that could exist. I would love to see that. Maybe it does exist, I don't know. I'm not super well versed in VR chat. But those are the people I want to know the opinions of, not the fucking idiots on Twitter.
Hey, I have a second channel where I produce reaction commentary and stream highlights, so if you like those things, definitely head over there and check it out to expose yourself to more lighthearted Diesel content.